Hello, dear viewer, and welcome to another episode of the Catholic League Forum. I'm Mike McDonald, Director of Communications of the Catholic League, and joining me today is Bill Donohue, President and CEO of the Catholic League. Bill, so this week I want to kind of drill in on uh, the ideas coming out of Hollywood and some ideas coming out of the Catholic Church and kind of comparing and contrasting them. This weekend was the Oscars, and I'm sure no one watched it as ratings were down again. But it is very important to focus in on these issues because, as Breitbart said, Andrew Breitbart said, politics is downstream from culture, and Hollywood unfortunately drives culture. And so, if we do want to make general changes in this country, we're going to have to focus on this. One of the big issues that came up at the Oscars involved transgenderism.
Mhm.
It was a very interesting juxtaposition because on last Friday, March 10th, Pope Francis gave an interview with an Argentinian Spanish language newspaper, I believe it was, La Nacion, and he was talking about the dangers of transgenderism, and he called it one of the most dangerous forms of ideological colonization. And then 2 days later at the Oscars, you have the winner of Best Picture, I guess it was, Daniel Scheinhardt, I believe how you say his name, who's co-director of Everything Everywhere All at Once, and he's up there promoting transgenderism, children cross-dressing, saying that it's a threat to nobody.
Drag
So,
queens.
the drag queens, they're a threat to nobody. Drag Queen Story Hour, threat to nobody. Um, can you talk us through how these two radically
Yeah, I
worldviews
mean,
work?
this is a great understanding of what's going on in our culture. We have the religious view represented by the Pope that you don't have to be Catholic in order to understand that most people of faith do believe that there's such a thing as a man and a woman and not a third sex. So the Pope is representative here. And then you have Hollywood, and there's many others besides Hollywood. It's in the universities, it's in the corporate world, wherever the elites are. They've been drinking the Kool-Aid that there's no such thing as a man or a woman. There are many other kinds of different, what they call genders, basically sexes. But of course, they're wrong on this. They're biologically wrong. It's not even a matter of debate. So here we have this situation where the Pope is saying you're blurring the lines between men and women, and that this is not good. It's our chromosomal makeup that determines our sex, and that our sex is determined by our father. Now, the people in Hollywood seem to think that everything is fluid, and there's no such thing as human nature. It's all a social construct. Interestingly, this is my field in sociology, and a lot of them have been drinking the Kool-Aid too. Now, there is, in fact, something called human nature, all right? And even Steven Pinker, who's certainly not a man of the conservative stripe, understands this. He's on the left, but he certainly has written the book The Blank Slate and other works on this. You don't have to. It's not even a matter of strictly liberal conservative, but this is the madness of our age, and it is being fought forth in Hollywood. And to say that drag queen hour is not a threat to children, it smacks of ignorance.
Right.
We've looked at this. We've quoted drag queen operatives, actors, actresses, whatever they are, and say, no, this is the sexualization of children, and we know what's going on. Now, not every drag queen story hour is the same. Some probably are relatively harmless, but what is the point? Why
Right.
would you want to get to little kids and put it into their heads that you can be something other than the sex that nature has determined? So, yes, it is a threat, and they're not going to stop there. And some of the stuff gets really quite sexual.
Yes, and I just want to drill down on one other comment that the Pope had made on this. He said that there's people that are naive and think that this is a
Right.
sign of progress that's being made in society. That
Right.
the more transgenderism that there is, the more progressive society is, the better it is. Um, Now, in your opinion, do you think a lot of these people that are promoting it in these elite institutions, Hollywood, the corporate world, academia, as you point out, are they naive and we can educate them and change them? Or are these guys the vanguards of the cultural revolution?
No, it's the latter. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. I'm not sure if the President of the United States knows what he's doing because he came out, I don't know if you've heard about this, people. He said that it was sinful. It was close to sinful. Those were his words. To object to the idea that children should not be sexualized and taught that you can switch your sexes in the first, second, third grade. He thought that was close to sinful. Abortion's not sinful. Protecting children from being abused is sinful. Now, is he playing with a full deck? I don't know. But if he is, then he has to answer to the big man upstairs.
Yes, indeed. Moving on, Bill. There was another interesting little controversy surrounding the Oscars. Michelle Yeoh won. She was also in Everything Everywhere All at Once, the Best Actress award for her performance, and the Academy said pretty much right away, this is the first woman, but then the
First Asian
Asian
woman.
woman to
Right.
win the Best Actress award. But then suddenly the Twitter storm exploded. Apparently, back in the 30s, I think it was, Merle Oberon. It was a very interesting, complicated life story. But she was from India, won an Oscar, and people on the internet were saying, well, she technically was the first one, but she never identified as
No,
coming
because her
from
father
Asia.
was an Englishman.
Right. And so, right, we have the on the one hand with the boys and the girls, they can identify however they want, but here in this instance, she's Asian because the Twitter people say she's Asian.
Well, NPR said that Yeoh was the first Asian woman to win an Oscar for Best Actress, and the identity police come back and they say, well, that's not true. This Merle Oberon, the father was English, but the mother was Indian. She was born in India. Her mother was 12 years of age. She grew up thinking that her mother was her sister, and her father had an affair with somebody, and that was actually her grandmother. She thought that was her mother. And the poor girl was all confused, talking about identity. She didn't know what she was. But the important thing is this. The identity police can't have it both ways. If you're saying that NPR is wrong and that the Oscars are wrong for saying that Yeoh is the first Asian because you really should identify Merle Oberon, well, she didn't identify as Asian. She identified as white. And by the way, what happened to biracial people? I mean, Obama played that card very well, right? His mother was white.
Yeah.
His father was black, and then they called him black. So this girl here, her father is white, but her mother is Indian. She chooses to be white. Now, if it's just a matter of subjectivism, then she wasn't the first Asian. In fact, she identified as white. Therefore, she is white. So either we are what we think we are, or we are what nature tells us we are, both in terms of our sex and our ethnicity. Of course, nature is dispositive.
Right.
If people are mad and they have this idea that they're an ant, that they probably need some help on that point. Instead they're teaching the colleges and universities. So yeah, the people playing the identity game, and it is a game. This exposes it. All of a sudden, we're supposed to recognize as Asian somebody who said that she wasn't, even though in fact she was. So what is it, people? You're all a total intellectual mess.
Yeah, it seems like it is some sort of very bad game of societal, Simon says, and it's just for the elites to say, well, you're wrong in this instance, and they just win no matter what.
Right.
But shifting gears, Bill, there is one day out of the year where everyone gets to be the same identity. St. Patrick's Day, everyone's Irish, which is tomorrow, so that's a great day. So a couple of St. Patrick's Day highlights, a little bit more seasonal to close it out here. On, was it March 5th, last Sunday? 2 Sundays ago now. Staten Island, probably the last St. Patrick's Day parade in the country to remain true to their roots, held their parade, but they're constantly being attacked because instead of letting the woke mob dictate what the parade is about and getting all the identity politics into it, it is just about St. Patrick's Day and being Irish.
No, they listen. There's never been a St. Patrick's Day parade any place in the country that I've ever learned of, which said to people, what do you do in bed and with whom? I was in the New York St. Patrick's Day parade for years until I was double-crossed by my own Irish Catholics, by the way. That's a story for another day. We've told it many times. Quite frankly, if you're gay, nobody cares. You just blend in like anybody else. We don't ask you you're left-handed, right-handed, gay, straight, whatever it is. Has nothing to do with it. You could be black, you could be Chinese, anybody can march. But what the gays want to do is draw attention to themselves. That's that narcissistic impulse. It comes shining through. They have to march under their own banner. Well, pro-life people don't march under their own banner. They just blend in. This is a day to honor St. Patrick's. It's not, they have all kinds of queer days. Okay, they have a month in June for the whole thing. That's when they can have all their achievements recognized, whatever they are. But the idea of crashing a parade, that represents an absolute contempt for diversity. Diversity means that one size does not fit all. This is true pluralism. Have your gay pride parade, fine. St. Patrick's Day parade. And this was settled in the courts back in the 90s. in a unanimous decision written by David Souter, saying that this is freedom of association. It's a private parade. Therefore, they can determine what the entrance requirements are. This is bullying on the part of the gay agenda and gay activists in this country, trying to shove their secular agenda down the throat of Irish Catholics. And shame on the Irish Catholics, some of them, who are going along on this. We will not be supine. We've always been outspoken. You know, what are we going to have now? The neo-Nazis joining the Salute to Israel parade? If the people who control the parade can't control the entrance requirements, then it can be neutered by people who are your enemy.
Yes, and Staten Island's still doing a very good job holding the line on that.
Right.
And we usually highlight them because they're constantly being attacked. But this year we did ask our members to reach out, show them some support, a little bit of love. Because
and they did.
They don't, and in a big way. And that's why, again, you know, we always talk about it at the end of the videos, Bill, but it's very important, dear viewer, if you do sign up for our news release letters, emails, we'll send them to you. Great ways to get involved. This was one of them. Show some support, and our members, as always, answered the call and came in a big way. And Bill, let's just close things up with just some general quick thoughts on St. Patrick. Obviously, great saint, but what does St. Patrick's Day mean?
Well, I mean, he's the first person, a public person in history ever to condemn slavery. He himself was enslaved. He was a champion of women's rights. I mean, the people don't know much about St. Patrick. It's all good to have a good time and have fun, and we certainly will do that. But recognize what he did. And without St. Patrick bringing Catholicism to Ireland, there wouldn't have been the monasteries. Without the monasteries, you wouldn't have the monks who basically kept alive the manuscripts from antiquity, from the Greeks and the Romans. We wouldn't know much about history. So that's why some people say there's a book out about how the Irish are responsible for civilization. Let the historians debate that all they want, but they certainly played a critical role. So in all seriousness, people should learn about him, and that's why on St. Patrick's Day, we put out every year now a news release, which I wrote a number of years ago, a salute to St. Patrick, which gives you a serious but brief but accurate summation of his splendid life.
Yeah, and that's definitely worth reading, dear viewer, and you will be able to find that and everything else that we've talked about this week in the link below. We'll have the links in the description below, and check out the website, catholicleague.org, for more information. Do consider, while you're there, signing up for our news releases and becoming a member. That greatly helps us get the message out, and also give this video a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.